All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day of SaberSim's DFS office hours. Today is Saturday, December 7th of 2024. And looking ahead here, we have a 6-game NBA main slate today. We had college football get underway a little bit ago. We have a 14-fight MMA card, NHL today, and then we have NFL all day tomorrow. Should be a fun weekend of DFS. For those of you who are new here, welcome. My name is Andrew, one of the coaches over here at SaberSim. This is a show where we go over how to use the SaberSim app, answer any and all DFS-related questions. Get your questions in one of three ways here. First off, send us an email, support@sabersim.com. Second, post it live in the YouTube chat. Third way, post it in the office hours channel in our Discord server. If you're not in our Discord and want to get access to that channel, there is a link in the description of this video. You also get access to our similar channels, individual sport channels, and you get access to the rest of the SaberSim team. Just can't say enough good things about the Discord. But with that said, we do this show Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, and we do this show Saturdays, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. So tune in any one of those days, get your questions answered. Appreciate you guys hanging out with me on this Saturday. Rashid said happy Saturday as well. All right, let's get SaberSim up. And no questions to get us started. Andy said, good afternoon. What's going on, everybody? So I figured we'd just do a couple slate demos today, right? So try and, work through the app here. So I wanted to start with NBA today. If we have some time, possibly even do NFL for tomorrow. So why don't we get a build up and running here? And I'm going to only build 2,000 lineups for this demo, make a couple adjustments to projections. And one thing I'll also do is just make a small filter so I don't have to see like some of the guys that probably not even going to get in the game. So I just did like my projection greater than 10 and kick this off, right? Good news, right? Or maybe this is like a kind of a cool demo for today. If you guys are playing multiple sports, right? Multiple sports, multiple slates, you can kick these all off, at the same time. You can have one build per slate running. So, okay, hey, NBA build, rocking and rolling. All right, cool. Hop over to NHL. 2 adjustments here. Any filters, rules you guys want, kick that off. Maybe I'm also playing some MMA, right? So be the grinder demo here. All these sports, or at least these 3 slates going simultaneously here, are all within an hour, actually. All right, cool. Do some MMA. I like to lower minimum salary a little bit here. Just give the builder a little bit more flexibility. We have the don't use opposing fighters rule on. That looks good. And 2 small adjustments. And kick this off as well, right? So we're doing 3 sports today, right? We're building all of these simultaneously, kicking them off. Basically, once this kicks off, I'm happy to circle back to one of the other ones that I was working on. All right, so we're back to NBA. I'm going to switch to the detailed view. If you ever see the roads and you guys don't like it, just click this button up here in the top right. I did see some people saying they were having trouble seeing it on mobile. If you are on mobile, try a couple different things. You could either try switching to landscape mode, decreasing the zoom on your browser, right? There should be some button somewhere where you can decrease the zoom, and hopefully that appears. So give those a shot. But anyways, we're in our NBA build, right? This would be a good time to run your contest sim if you have it, right? Or you could use SaberScore. Either way, just get to your preferred sorting metric and then start making adjustments, right? So then, okay, I'm going to come in here. I want to see my exposure and my leverage. I have my average projection aggregate metric, and then I'm going to start, bumping this up, right? So 1 min unique to 3, average projection still in the 271 range. Great. Getting some diversification in my lineups. Min uniques of 4, drops a lot further, closer to 3 points. I would either probably stop here personally or even go back. The determining factor for me is what do my exposures and leverages look like at 3 versus 4, and am I comfortable with those, right? So at 3 uniques, have 90% Jokic, Carrington, Luka, and then 65%, I don't know, Champagne. And then at 4 uniques, Luka goes down to 55%. Carrington and Jokic stay at 80. Gill comes up to 50. So, like, see here, honestly, I would probably stick with 3 because what's the biggest thing that changed? For me, it's Luka going from like 90% to 55. Carrington stayed high. I'm still getting to a cheap Washington player in Gill. I just switched him out basically for Champagne. So 3 makes a little bit more sense to me. So, like, personally, I would stick at 3, but those are like the questions and the thought process behind like getting to here. And then I'd be ready to rock and roll, right? Boom, save, move on to the it's good when you can like have a process that can kind of carry over to multiple sports. And there'll probably be some differences along the way as far as like some rules or like filters that you use or like strategy and stuff like that, right? Which is expected. But the overall, I guess, like framework of my process is going to kind of be the same across all of these. All right. Now we're into NHL. Gonna move some columns around real quick. Okay, boom. That looks pretty good. Probably don't need status. Oh, I can't move it. All right, that'll do. Shrink this a bit. Okay, cool. So I'm about ready to do the same thing here, right? Your NHL builds typically going to be much more spread out naturally here. I don't know why this projected score is not calculating. It's kind of a weird one. All right. Gonna report a problem. If you guys see weird stuff like that, this is the best thing you can do. Go to the top right corner, click report a problem. And I'm gonna say average projection aggregate metric not working for NHL, but working for NBA. Because we just used it. All right. So in this case, I'm going to run a contest sim just so I can have something here to reference. Okay. Set that up. Perfect. Come back into this build, kick off the contest sim. And then honestly, while this runs, I can go and do my MMA stuff, right? So, okay, hey, you know, we're trying to optimize time, right? And then see average projection is working for MMA, but just not NHL, which is kind of weird. But anyways, we're in this build, right? So we're going to do the same thing. Move some columns around. Shrink that, exposure. Okay, cool. I'm about ready here. So a couple things, right? Number one, if you have contest sims, use it. The other thing, right? If your sliders are on Sim Diversity 10, then I would switch your Saber score to MMA Sim Diversity 10. The MMA default is what you would use if you were using a sliders that are less than 10. So I would switch this here if you're running it on 10. So you can just check that really quickly in case you don't make any adjustments. The difference between these two is that Sim Diversity 10 uses the Sim Optimals as a variable in the formula. MMA default does not. It uses projection, lineup percentile, and adjusted ownership. So this is more like a classic type of metric. We basically need 2 because we need to have like a Sim Diversity 10 with Sim Optimals. And then what if people don't use that, right? So you're only going to ever get Sim Optimals if you use 10, but if you change it and you use 9 or less, then it's not going to be like relevant and it'll like mess up the grading. So we have to have both. And the default is a little bit safer across the board, but 10 is good, right? So I'm going to change mine to 10 here. I have my 20 lineups, have my average projection, and a couple things I want to do, right? So I'm basically doing a demo as if I was doing this on starter since I'm using Saber Score. So what I probably would have done is set up a geo mean aggregate rule where you could say, hey, rule type aggregate, my own geo mean, no more than X, right? And what this does is helps you to account for duplication of your lineups in your process, right? The way you come up with the number is go to your contest tab, find the contest you're playing. Maybe I am playing what's a good one? The $1 20 max. So 29,000 entries, right? Let's say I don't want to play lineups that are going to be duplicated more than 20 times, right? Just kind of as like a baseline number. 20 divided by the number of entries in the contest to the power of 1 divided by the number of players in the lineup, which is 6. So this little up arrow is for like an exponent, and then you do 1 divided by the number of players in the lineup, which for this one is 6. Click equals, get a number, right? This effectively in the app, you would write this as 29.6. So then that's what I would have put for my rule. I would have went to my rule. I would have said my own geomean no more than 29.6. So that's what I would have done there. Other things you could do is possibly like lowering your max salary, like avoiding max salary lineups because those are more likely to be played. You could do some ownership filter, right? This is an easy one. Come in here, say, hey, show lineups with ownership less than, and then you just start adjusting this, right? Typically what I do is just kind of look at like the few lineups I have here. It's like, okay, it's showing like 180-ish. I'm going to set this to like 225 to start and then just see what impact that has. The way you would see it is either clicking the let's try 215. Okay, still nothing at 215. Let's try 200. Nothing. Try 190. Wow. I'm shocked. Show lineups. Okay, good. At 185, we finally start to see some lineups go in the trash. So here, I'd probably recommend trashing about like 10% of your lineups by chopping off some of the highest owned lineups. That'll just help you to get to some lineups that are going to have less ownership, right? So that's one thing you could do here. We got like 20% of our lineups in the trash. That's fine for this demo, but it definitely gets the point across. So we're just trying to, do a couple things here that can help us to be a little bit more unique in the contest. So we talked about some ownership, talked about salary, talked about geometric mean, a couple different things you could do. Great. Now we're ready to finalize our lineups, right? How do we do that? Well, similar thing, right? Somebody asked me earlier this week, like, hey, can you use like min uniques and showdowns and stuff like that? Yeah, you absolutely can, right? What I would probably do is just like scroll down to the last lineup in your set and then adjust your uniques and see what the impact is, right? So going from 1 unique to 2, we only go down, 1 lineup. Okay, perfect. Small impact, guarantees some diversification. What about 3 uniques, right? Might start to get weird here. Only at lineup 39, that's like totally fine. But just remember, there's only 6 players in the lineup. So having 3 out of 6 uniques is the same out of having like 5 out of 10, in like a MLB lineup or something like that, right? So I would be happy with 3. We've guaranteed some diversification. Notice our leverages are all like under 20%, all either like single digit or in like the teen range here. So this seems really good with me. I would be happy submitting these lineups. And, I didn't have to sacrifice a lot of projection to go from 1 to 3 unique. So I'm guaranteeing diversification and only sacrificing about like 2 points in projection, or even less than that, like 1.5. So that's great, right? This is awesome. So I think it's totally okay to use that. It's a fine tool to have there. All right. So we did NBA, we did MMA, and we ran that contest in for NHL. So we're going to jump back there and finish these lineups and get these all in. Show's been running like 15 minutes, right? And these slates are all within an hour. And we've effectively, built lineups for all of these slates within, 20 minutes here. And I'm narrating the whole thing, right? So kind of hopefully helps you guys out to like have a little bit leaner process where, maybe you do want to play all these sports, right? And you want to have a bunch of action on like a Saturday. Hopefully this helps you out to navigate all these different sports and stuff like that. I know it can be overwhelming at times. All right. Interesting, right? We come back to NHL and all of a sudden the average projection metric is populated here. That's kind of funny to me. All right, so we're going to switch to our contest sim. And then we are going to add an average ROI because this is what I ran it for in the first place. All right, so I got my exposure in view, got my leverage in view. I actually want to change this. I don't really need these two. And I want to see the ownership. Okay, perfect. Awesome. So this looks good. Again, gonna start in the same place, right? So sorted my exposure, got my sorting metric. Now I'm ready to start making adjustments. So okay, let's bump min uniques from 1 to 3, see the impact that it has. 98.1 to 97.3, ROI down less than 5%, seems good. Uniques of 4, ROI down about 10% total now, seems okay. ROI down about like 20% at 5. This is again like that point where you got to start looking at stuff and be like, hey, am I okay with this? Maybe you're not okay with the, 50% exposure to a couple players in NHL, right? You want to be flatter. Like, okay, you can go further here. Like it's not a bad thing. You're just sacrificing a little ROI to do so, but you're doing fine, right? Our average projection at 1 was 98.1. Projection a little less important in NHL. You're trying to maintain those heavy like line stat correlations. So like maybe you see 5, you're like, hey, at least these two 50% owned players are both on Toronto power play 1, and I'm just making a bet that that line is going to get there. Like, yeah, that's a fun way to think about it. If you're finding a 5, if you're like, I'd rather have less than 50%, okay, you go down to 4. Those two same skaters go down to 40%, and then you have this cheap one-off with Protoss at 3,000. Okay, you're getting some salary savings there, allows you to get to some higher salary lines and things like that. Like, hey, 6 is okay, number 2, right? So you got to figure out what kind of speaks to you, right? And I'm speaking about this from different people's perspectives, like hypothetically, right? Like, hey, we could all look at the same data and interpret it, a number of different ways. And I'm trying to show you like, hey, one person might see this and be like, oh, no way. Another person might look at this and be like, oh yeah, this is like totally fine. Or like, oh, I love this. Right. So there's no right answer. It's always what matches your risk tolerance and what looks right to you. Right. So you always want to enter lineups that you're comfortable with. And, one person can look at it and be like, heck no. And one person can look at it and be like, hell yeah, let's go. So, but here, right, I'm basically done. I'd click save, and here we have successfully built for 3 slates, all within the last 20 minutes here. So hope that helps you guys out in your contests, leading into today, leading into the weekend. Let me check Discord really quickly. And a couple more questions. Cool. Looks like some rolled in while we were doing some demos. So why don't I get those up? All right. One from AK. One from Squeeze. By default, my lineups are in compact mode. Is there a way to default this to detailed? I like seeing this first. Is if you use autofill and you fill your lineups the like next day or next slate or next build you open, whatever, we're basically remembering that you used autofill, and then that's why it's showing your lineups in the compact mode. All you need to do is just come over here, like, they'll look like this. All you need to do is just come over here and hit this button. It's a little hard, for us, like, oh, if we like default it to this, but then like some users will be happy and then like some users won't be happy. And, the best thing that we found is just to do it from the person's last view. So unfortunately, you're just going to have to go in there and manually change it. That's the best I got for you. All right, next question. What is the best way of creating a unique lineup while remaining competitive in a showdown contest? I would check out our MMA, demo that we just did like a few minutes ago. We talked about different ways of getting unique and accounting for duplication. The one caution I'll say is don't be super aggressive with the geomean. Like, okay, yeah, we all want to play a unique lineup and we all want to, take the whole first place prize. But I've heard it said like it's easy to play a unique lineup because you could just play like a really bad one that like nobody's going to play right. And I've talked to Will about this on our team, who's in charge of like our MMA model. And he's always he cares more about like his under 5 dupe rate rather than his unique rate. So that means more to him. Just playing lineups that have a strong chance of winning with a low duplication. He's trying to find like a happy medium there. That's why I was like, hey, 20 is like a decent number to use for the geo mean. Don't try and be super aggressive and go overboard with it. Just try and, come at duplication from all these different directions. And hopefully you can end up on a low duplicated set of lineups. But it's okay to not always be unique and to have, a few dupes, right? So check out that tutorial we did like 10 minutes ago. All right. Those are the last questions. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Good luck in your contest this weekend. I will see you all on Monday. So until then, take care. Thanks. Bye.